I'm Archaic Noise. Today we're going to be talking about TheQuartering. For the last 6 years, right-winger Jeremy Hambley, also known as TheQuartering on YouTube, has been vlogging about gaming and internet-related news to a rabidly right-wing fan base. His channel's reached 1 million subscribers, which led to me writing an extensive script on how Jeremy rails against the evil woke monsters that control America's far-left politics. When he's not bragging about moderates losing their jobs or companies going under on his Get Woke, Go Broke series, he's often making reactionary videos talking about things the left is doing on Twitter. The vast majority of his content is clickbait titles scraped from optimized headlines and popular gaming news, but he has a real thorn in his side about cancel culture. Here's a short, non-exhaustive list of things Jeremy believes the far left has successfully canceled. Chris Pratt, Ice Cube, Adam Driver, Keanu Reeves, Jeff Goldblum, Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlett Johansson, Nicki Minaj, Emma Watson, J.K. Rowling 3 different times, Stephen King, Macaroni and Cheese, the Xbox One S, White Men, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, Dr. Drew, Dominoes, deceased professional wrestler Hana Kimura, Orcs from Lord of the Rings, Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's, the Disney theme park ride Splash Mountain, the Sith Lord Darth Maul, Teen Vogue, Drew Brees, Joe Rogan, Bill Maher, Tim Pool, Riot Games, Rooster Teeth, Paw Patrol, online first-person shooter Escape from Tarkov, Gina Carano, Henry Cavill, Dave Chappelle, Johnny Depp, Gordon Ramsay, Mr. Beast, PewDiePie, Beyonce, Final Fantasy XVI, Ezra Miller, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, Dan Avidan from Game Grumps, food, like the food that people eat, YouTube game reviewer Skill Up, The Fine Bros, Jenna Marbles, 21 Pilots, the entire Marvel franchise, the girl who popularized the phrase OK Boomer, Adult Swim programs Aqua Teen Hunger Force and the Boondocks, Pokemon, Digimon, Jokes, All Jokes, Any Jokes, The Joker, and finally, himself? Basically, every person, place, or thing on this list is doing much better than it was 2 years ago, save for Hana Kimura, and let's all be honest, dying is the ultimate form of cancel culture. So for anyone who isn't aware, canceling people is when you tell everyone to boycott a particular person or piece of media for being problematic, or espousing a belief system that puts down marginalized identities. For example, Chris Pratt was under fire for attending an openly homophobic church and intentionally flashing fellow actresses on set in order to, quote, get a real reaction out of them. He made that disgusting post on Instagram that obviously disparaged his disabled son. He follows PragerU, Turning Point USA, and Ben Shapiro on Twitter, and there's pictures of him posing with dead animals after successful hunting trips. The left wing dislikes this, so of course Chris Pratt is canceled now and forever. There's absolutely nothing that'll change that. He'll be kicked off all of his movies, he'll be shunned by society, and be removed from all his past motion pictures. The world will go on without him, and he'll certainly die a broken, penniless man. Cancel culture may be a real thing, but it doesn't usually result in much. Many people who get canceled end up with a graph like this, a graph like this, or a graph like this. The worst thing that can really happen is that your core fans continue giving you money even after you've been canceled. These are all 3 left-wing creators that have been successfully canceled at some point in their YouTube careers, and as you can see, it didn't really amount to anything with regards to the amount of money that they were earning, either through Patreon or some other source of income. Jeremy also likes doing this thing where he writes an awful clickbait headline to make people look bad for supporting whatever woke politics is supposed to be. As I mentioned before, he's got a whole series called Get Woke, Go Broke, but even when he's not doing that, he's posting headlines like Instant Regret, Blizzard gets absolutely destroyed over new World of Warcraft greed. But then you read the description and he talks about how he's also still playing World of Warcraft. Take his Doctor Who headline, for instance. The end for female Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker and showrunner out after horrendous ratings. This was back when Jodie Whittaker ended up no longer being the next Doctor because it was the end of the season. And the part that he doesn't mention is that this would be the 3rd series with Jodie as the Doctor, and the last 3 Doctors, Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith, and David Tennant, that were in before her, rotated out after 3 consecutive series. Stephen Moffat was already on his way out. Also, if you compare her 2nd season to Peter Capaldi's 2nd season, the total viewership numbers are pretty similar, so the ratings weren't even horrendous. Electronic Arts, also known more commonly as EA, had a pretty rough year in 2020 in terms of Madden sales figures, which led to Jeremy writing, "Madden gets absurdly woke and it instantly backfires," stating that the reason that the sales were bad is because Colin Kaepernick is featured in the game. A writer over at Polygon, Owen S. Good, who's been playing Madden for decades, wrote an article explaining that sales figures on every EA Sports game have been falling over the years, coupled with their awful user review scores on Metacritic, and he also argues that some, though not all of the lack of sales, is probably due to the pandemic. But how could any of that possibly be true? They went woke, so now they have to go broke. His headline, Steam destroyed for posting cringe Latinx games event, keep your SJW junk out of video games, is also pretty funny, because I couldn't find more than a single article advertising the 2-day Steam event, and it's from a website called Niche Gamer. I didn't log into Steam during any of those days, so I wouldn't have even known about the event if it weren't for his video. And when I pulled up the Steam user data from the week that sale happened, it was roughly the same as it had always looked. So much for getting destroyed? I think the really funny part is how he says he's never met a person who uses Latinx as a designation, completely missing the point that it's non-gendered. I think my favorite one so far is where he tells all his users not to buy the PlayStation 5 because it's got this awful terms of service agreement. And then 4 weeks later, they send him a PS5 and the description reads, I am so excited to have this. Like, come on, Jeremy, less than a month? You couldn't even make it 1 month without immediately backpedaling on one of your stupid opinions? You see, Jeremy's whole prerogative is explaining to his followers that the woke, radical, social justice warrior agenda is what's ruining the landscape of games and media. Rather than focus on the fact that the vast majority of Americans have little to no access to healthcare outside their company plans, or that 41% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency, or that climate change is getting worse and wages are staying stagnant and costs are going up and we have a refugee crisis, well, Jeremy is upset about Brie Larson for some stupid reason. By my count, from around the beginning of 2019 to now, Hambly's posted a minimum of 100 videos about Brie Larson, 68 of them specifically about her, and an additional 30 videos about Captain Marvel 2, or her other associated projects. Like, Jesus, Jeremy, what the hell? Is people saying feminism good really worth getting this bent out of shape about? Does it require a coordinated campaign where you post about a popular feminist once every 10 days on average? Man, I forgot about the Brie Larson shit. Oh my god. I completely forgot I even wrote that into the video. I haven't looked at the script in like 6 months. It's the same thing with Anita Sarkeesian, the original creator and host of the Feminist Frequency YouTube channel and podcast, and game developer Zoe Quinn, 2 of the earliest Gamergate targets. He's got a video with a thumbnail that says, Day 29,457 of Gamergate. Good on you for keeping track. And the title is, Anita and Zoe Continue Getting Rich from Gamergate, posted in January 2020. And again, he has a video from just 6 months earlier saying Cyberpunk 2077 was Anita's last chance, it's over, where he cheers about Feminist Frequency downscaling its operations, saying, I love it when these woke companies go broke. He even plays the crab rave. He plays the crab rave. He plays the crab rave. So, like, which is it, dude? Is she getting rich or is she flat broke? Do you honestly believe that a long-standing games journalist went from destitute to mansion owner in the span of 6 months? I'd be surprised to hear about most games journalists owning new cars. Jeremy Hambly started his YouTube career by making videos about Magic the Gathering. In 2017, while he was posting content under 2 different aliases, Unsleeved Media and Magic the Gathering Headquarters, he was banned from all Magic events and tournaments for harassing a cosplayer so aggressively that they quit cosplaying Magic the Gathering characters altogether. At the time, the cosplayer in question, named Christine Sprankle, wrote, It has been a rough year, and I have blocked and not said anything about him because I wanted it to die, but without a doubt, TheQuartering has made my life hell this whole year with his unnecessary videos and tweets about me and other members of Magic. In a now deleted 12-minute video, described in a Twitter advertisement as Playset of Beta White Knights Prevent Rape of MTG Cosplayer Sprankle, Jeremy browses every response to a few of Sprankle's tweets and accuses her of using her breasts to farm likes, calls all her followers loser Beta White Knight cucks, and insists that she's cheating a bunch of vulnerable men out of their money on Patreon by posting racy pictures on the internet. Jesus H. Christ. He tells her she should be thankful when a man says he's got an erection by seeing some of her posts. Oh my god. He literally does this for 12 minutes. He does this for 12 entire minutes. I've seen the video, I remember the video, and I can tell you it's even worse than I make it sound. The video is available on the web archive, but it is not an interesting watch. I would not recommend it for anybody who is faint of heart. As a response to this, the Magic the Gathering event organizers decided to permanently ban Jeremy from all future events, but the damage had been done. Sprankle quit cosplaying for MTG, and at the time was flat broke, so she moved back in with her mom, and a year later, while Hambly was attending Gen Con, a guy by the name of Matt Loader saw him at a bar, asked his name, and then punched him in the back of the head a few times before walking off. There's a whole video where Jeremy goes, I was just attacked, did you see that? Did you see that dude attack me? To a bunch of bystanders. He'd actually spoken to this guy online once before, ironically accusing him of being a pedophile in an offhanded Twitter comment, saying, if you can make fake accusations, I can make them too. You know, the right wing goes through this song and dance every 15 minutes. What do you mean I was being violent? All they did was call out a female games critic for being an SJW socialist who hates free speech. I might be over here talking about how she's using her breasts to farm vulnerable men for money, but I've never punched anyone. We've been seeing a lot more of these guys get pushed out of online spaces for their behavior, but they're like fucking goblins. There's always more crawling out of the cracks in the mountain. Some random guy reads Jeremy's shitty comments online, finds him in public, and assaults him. Jeremy then retreats to the internet, saying, "See, these awful anarchist monsters are out here trying to kill anyone who engages in free speech. So much for the tolerant left." What, because this dude said believe women on a Facebook post he's a leftist? Fucking try again, buddy. Even with irrefutable, incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, people like Jeremy outright deny that they're harassing anyone or that leftists get harassed more than right-wingers. Take, for example, games journalist Leona Rupert, who did extensive reporting for Game Informer about all the possible scenes in Cyberpunk 2077 that could trigger epileptic seizures. Her investigation was so thorough and precise that CD Projekt Red not only added a seizure warning, but offered to add accessibility options in future updates. And the same day, a bunch of people started sending her videos that could trigger photosensitive epilepsy because she decided to make a point of talking about photosensitive epilepsy being a problem in a video game. How fucked up is that? She even went out of her way to say that she was more upset that the tweet got more attention than her reporting on Cyberpunk 2077 did. Jeremy is a man who got punched in the back of the head a few times, and instead of just going back to his YouTube channel for support, he got the man fired from his job teaching game design at a university, got a public apology, and filed a federal damage case that was settled at a court. Jeremy basically tried to ruin the guy's life for punching him. Where was Leona's opportunity to ruin the lives of everyone who tried to give her a seizure? Where was Christine's opportunity to tear down Jeremy's YouTube channels for implying all the rape accusations in the MTG community were made up? Where was their opportunity to fight back against the people who were trying to ruin their lives? Oh, and what's all this, Jeremy? What are all these comments? All these beta loser white knight cucks on your channel? That's your whole audience! They just won't stop! Hambly wants to bully people off the internet, and he doesn't believe he's ever wanted that or ever engaged in any kind of harassment or bullying whatsoever. But when you're pulling in hundreds of thousands of views per video and you're regularly saying the name of a person over and over again, calling them a liar, a traitor, a grifter, a lot of those viewers might get it in their head that you meant those things literally. They might get it in their head that it's cool to do the same. A few years back, it was Christine Sprankle. This last year, it was Brie Larson. These people aren't politicians or war criminals. Do they really deserve as much hate as they're getting? Jeremy has over 1 million YouTube subscribers. There's nothing I can do to stop him. There's nothing you can do to stop him. I hope what people realize by watching someone like Jeremy is that they're not only contributing to the advertising revenue of a dude who's actively engaged in harassment campaigns online, but that they're helping a deeply right-wing gaming personality spread misinformation about everything. Cancel culture, social justice, feminism, it's all fair game to him so long as he can stir the pot long enough to make a quick buck. His whole shtick is about convincing his audience that the left is trying to change the world in ways that are corrupt and evil, in ways that are anti-equality, in ways that are bad for everyone, including gamers. In reality, we want a world that represents the people who live in it. Not every game about being a commando should be a gritty, pseudo-realistic propaganda experiment where you bomb the Middle East to hell and back. Not every Capcom game needs to have marketing campaigns that focus on incredibly tall, beautiful women who may or may not be zombie people. Unfortunately, that's what we're getting. The left is over here doing the we should improve society somewhat bit, and Jeremy all but leaps out of the fucking well shouting how curious like we're the biggest hypocrites on the planet. Games are not above criticism, and neither are you, buddy. Jeremy has effectively made a career out of lying on the internet. He's a gamer who says nothing of substance, but he's telling a whole bunch of impressionable, like-minded gamers that women complain too much and that feminism is cancer. This is the big problem with social capital. No one's going to clamp down on this kind of content. YouTube might demonetize him for being a chud, but they won't kick him off the platform. He's dedicated the majority of his channel to talking about how being woke is evil, and he sells shirts and mugs in the process. He gets free consoles shipped to his house because of how many channel views he brings in. So long as he keeps pulling in those numbers, YouTube won't have any reason to rid themselves of his content. I'd say he's learned his lesson from the Magic the Gathering ban, but I don't know, it's possible he'll slip up and get himself banned for real in the near future. I just wouldn't bet on it. Until these major social media sites start handing out bans, even the more tame right-wing disinformation experts are going to manage 1 million subs on their gaming news channels, where they incessantly post about every single L the left has ever had. It's frustrating, but the most we can do is lift up voices in our community and try to build our own networks. Until we start countering this weird obsessive narrative when it hits, we're not going to see a lot of progress on this front. Thanks for watching. You know, it sucks to end on such a downer, but it's kind of depressing knowing how much reach this guy has. How many videos can one man possibly make on Brie Larson, Michael? 10 videos?